Hi, Steve Cass here, and this is my March edition of social media comment. So this is stuff I see mainly on Facebook and YouTube that I think is worth commenting on. I know it's only the 20th of March today, but I've got so much material, frankly, I could do 2 or even 3 this month. So I'll just do this one and keep it relatively short with just 3 or 4 items. First, I'll start off with my usual quote of the month, and in this case, it's discussing national identity, and it's from Spiked Online, and they say, elite identity politics is explicitly anti-democratic, anti-majoritarian, and divisive. They prefer us to be in our own separate boxes, because we're far more dangerous to their cosy existence when we're together. And this could explain the Brexit vote. It was an issue where people weren't psychologically boxed into pre-identified identity or political groups. They could think for themselves without feeling that they were betraying the political party that they normally support. And thus, essentially, an uncorrupted, genuine majority view won out. All the main parties, so Labour, Conservative and Liberal Democrats in England, and obviously the Scottish Nationalists in Scotland, they were all pro-EU. They were all Remainers, at least officially. So people could vote how they wanted without being seen to be pro or anti any particular political party. And it's interesting, isn't it, that most of those who want to remain are in the higher social and wealth brackets. They're quite happy with the European Union, with its blatant cronyism, jobs for the boys, and an equally blatant democratic deficit. Why? Well, presumably on the I'm alright Jack, everyone else can bugger off principle, although they're not going to admit to that, of course. But it's always the lower end of society who, by and large, are always the ones disenfranchised and ignored by the smug, relatively wealthy technocratic elites. They're the ones who voted to get out while we still can, and those who benefit from the EU elite technocracy don't like it one little bit. When we went into the EEC, as it then was, the European Economic Community, the safe thing would have actually been to have stayed the way we were. Take the better the devil you know attitude. However, we voted to do the more dangerous, perhaps the braver thing, because we perceived that Western Europe was democratic, good, and doing better than us economically, also good, so we wanted to share in that. And in some ways we had a similar situation this time round. The safe or cowardly thing was to say, well, I'm going to stick with the devil I know, in this case the European Union. However, we voted to leave, I think, because many don't see that they have benefited from being a member state of the European Union. They can see, though, that we've given away a lot of sovereignty, and also that the European elites are anti-democratic, and that much of Europe is not doing so well economically. Just look at Greece and Portugal and Spain and Italy, etc. Now, I very nearly didn't vote in this last Brexit referendum because I could genuinely see arguments from both sides. For me, it was sort of a head versus heart scenario, and it was a very tough decision. In the end, I only voted because not to is in my opinion a cop-out, basically. Now, you may think from what I've just said that you can guess how I voted, but you actually don't know how I voted necessarily. You've got a 50-50 guess, but that's not the same thing. I'm arguing this way purely from a democratic standpoint. The vote was won by more than 1 million votes, and I don't think it's acceptable for the ruling elites in politics and the media to try and subvert it because it doesn't suit them personally. On to my next topic for this week. Someone posted on Facebook that they had taken one of these online political spectrum questionnaires. I don't know if you've seen them. But what staggered me was that they were jubilant, they were ecstatic that they had got 70%. And some of their friends came onto Facebook and commented about the fact that they got higher percentages than 70%. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, guys, why are you so happy about that? You're the closed-minded ideologues. You're the dangerous extremists. You know, it's nothing to be proud of to be a political extremist. I took the same test just to see what it was like and how I came out, and I came out 55% on the right of politics and 45% on the left of politics. You know, what a nice, sensible, open-minded and reasonable chap I am. But these people, who I know think of themselves as being kind and reasonable, are getting scores moving on towards the kind of scores that Hitler and Stalin and Mao would have got if they'd taken the test. And they're proud of that? What the is going on there? My third topic for this week, I saw a YouTube video by an objectivist and the head of the Ayn Rand Institute in America, and this guy's called Yaron Brook. And I'm just going to summarise a part of the talk and see what you think of it. And he said this. Some of this is verbatim, some of it is summary, so forgive me, it's not literally verbatim, but this is the gist of it. So many people don't want to be self-empowered, and that's why collectivism, socialism, communism appeals to them. The beauty of collectivist ideologies is that it allows you not to take responsibility for your life. And if you don't take responsibility for your life, then you're now shielded from the consequences of what happens in the world by this group, by, for example, the welfare state system. So you don't have to be someone who's active and engaged, and therefore who might fail and might get afraid sometimes, and you might have to challenge yourself and genuinely think about what you're doing. Being self-aware and self-empowered and taking responsibility for your life is hard work. So lazy or cowardly people retreat into group identities and collectivist ideologies. People who value emotion over reason and rationality will often be collectivists. Like shoals of fish or herds of antelope, crowds equal safety. Collectivism is emotionalism as opposed to independent reason and rational thought, where the individual takes personal responsibility for their life, their choices, their successes and their failures, as opposed to subsuming themselves into the group and living in a world of groupthink and confirmation bias. That's what he said. Let me know what you think. And finally, for this vlog, I saw this superb Facebook post. Someone had put a Facebook post complaining that their local milkman had basically knocked on the door and asked if they would take milk deliveries to their doorstep. And this chap who just says what he thinks had basically said, well, no, I'm sorry, because I'm not prepared to pay 80% more to get you to deliver it to my door when it's a 2-minute walk to the supermarket. And apparently this milkman, basically gave him a bit of lip about it before leaving. And there was this whole load of comments from sort of relatively well-off middle-class women, and that's not a sexist comment, it's just a fact. The last time I checked, all the comments were from women, and they were extolling the virtues of getting their milk delivered to their door in glass bottles, just like the old days, and being happy to pay a lot more in percentage terms for the milk than having to go to the supermarket and get it. All patting themselves on the back for their virtue, and by implication looking down their noses at the ignorant who don't do the same as they do. This is the pretentious middle classes in action, and they would claim to care about the poor, who can't afford to pay all this extra money to have their milk delivered to their doorstep. Ye gods, I mean really, these people can seriously do Orwellian doublethink, where they appear to believe two opposing things simultaneously and can't see what's wrong with that. Fetch the sick bucket. And in another, this was the best bit, in another post a few hours later, one of these same people commenting like this was asking if anybody knew how much the fine was for taking their kids out of school to go on a 2-week holiday in term time. So Taking your kids out of school for 2 weeks is okay. Why? Oh, yes, because it suits you and sod the rules, which of course are there for a good reason, but, they don't care about that, because of course they know best. Honestly, these bloody middle class lefties, they're so king hypocritical. Wait, bring back that sick bucket. I haven't finished with it yet. I've been Steve Cass. Thanks for watching.